welcome to the Nurse Boss Shift. It's your girl, Dr. Kiana
And
Jones.
I'm Crystal P, the hormone NP.
Today, we are excited to talk about a topic that Crystal and I can honestly say we are probably experts in this space for real.
Yes.
And we want to talk to you guys about family, navigating work, getting the buy-in from your partner as it pertains to entrepreneurship, and some of the tips and some of our personal experiences about how we've been able to do this. I think this episode is going to be interesting, Crystal, because you and I kind of have different perspectives on the journey because you're more of a newer mom and I've been a mom almost all my life. So we'll be able to share our perspectives, and it should be relatable to a lot of you guys, depending on where you are on your journey for entrepreneurship. So we're going to dive into that today. I want to start with asking you a question, Chris, because I know you really kicked your journey into high gear when you had your daughter, your oldest. And so can you just talk a little bit about what your family thought when you were telling them, like, I'm going to start this business, and knowing that this was your first? How old were you when you were pregnant with Savvy?
35.
Okay,
34,
so
35.
35. Okay, so you waited, you got married, and then you started your family, and then you decided to do something really crazy. So what did your family say about that?
Yeah, so with the products business, I think that was, they were very supportive. And I think looking back, at first I'm like, oh, I don't really have entrepreneurship. How did I come here? But really looking at it, my family are entrepreneurs. So my dad was a dentist. He's passed now, but he had his own practice. So now, of course, I regret not being able to have those conversations with him. But he was an entrepreneur, and I was like, okay, it is like in my blood, And then thinking on my mother's side, my grandfather was an entrepreneur. All my uncles are entrepreneurs. So I think everyone was pretty on board with it. It wasn't anything that they thought was too crazy. It was more so myself having to realize that, I come from a family of entrepreneurs. So it's something that can very well, be a possibility for me. But none of the women had their own businesses,
Okay.
So that was something different.
Yeah.
How about you? Did your family, how did they feel when you said you were? I know you always say how your mom was like, why?
Right. She was definitely like, why? And, it's funny. I didn't have any entrepreneurs in my family at all. Well, actually, my uncle, my mom's brother, was an entrepreneur.
Okay.
And I did see him, like, he started his trucking business. He had that for like 15 years. It was local, so he would be local in the state of California. But I did see him, but I don't know that necessarily, I guess it could have had an influence on me, but nobody like that I can remember talking to me about entrepreneurship or anything like that. So everybody pretty much, but by the time I started, I had already broke through so many ceilings in my family that they were kind of like, Kiana is Kiana. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like anything for them. They was just like, the challenge for me was that because everything that I had done, I had been successful at it. So I was afraid to potentially risk that because
fail.
They look at it like, oh, you're going to be fine. My mom just thought like, why are you doing this? You have a great job, whatever. But it's like, okay, you're going to be fine. And it was like, well, what if I'm not? Like, are you still going to love me? Like, what's that going to be like? So I think navigating that was probably something that I had to work through. But the alternative was what pushed, like, I didn't care. Like, ultimately, I care what they thought, but that wasn't going to keep me where I was. Because if I stayed where I was, all I could see ahead was more depression, more feeling unfulfilled, all of that. I didn't see a way that it could get better. Like, and it wasn't that I needed to get a different job. It was just going to be more of the same because I wasn't living to my fullest potential. So I feel like that was a huge motivator for me on why I did it. And it really didn't. I had already disappointed my family. Like I said, when I was 17 and I got pregnant, everybody was just like, what? And then I redeemed myself with that. And then when I said I was going to start a business, they were just like, why, but okay, you always do, like, you always figure it out.
Yeah.
So they were fine. Even my mom, like, she could either way, like,
Yeah.
okay, do it or don't, you know,
Right.
whatever. But I feel like it was an area that she just couldn't relate to.
Yeah.
Like, she never started a business. You know, she was a teenage mom as well. And she had her own set of struggles. So I don't think that she even could think at that level. So she was just happy that I was just doing whatever I could. And she, of course, you know, her thing was just wanting me to be okay and be successful.
Right. And I think at that point, because we both had nursing under our belt, like you're saying, it wasn't as big as or as much as of a risk in their minds.
Yeah, that's true. And but your mom was a nurse. I mean, is a nurse still, but I'm saying she worked as a nurse when you were growing up. See, and I think that gives you a different perspective too. It's like, I see what my mom is doing and it's great. And like, you know, you took trips to Hawaii. That wasn't my life, right? but at the same time, you could still look at that other side to that and say, like, there are certain aspects that I don't want that came along.
She worked a lot. She worked those 12-hour shifts. And then being that I was the oldest, 10 years above my brother and sister, I was just like the built-in help. So she could work even more shifts. And that was the life that I didn't want. Like, I didn't want to be, I remember her always, you know, fighting about her schedule and, you know, at work and things like that. So those are the things that I knew I didn't want. And then, you know, coming out into the politics of today at the hospital, it's like, oh, this couldn't have been like the nursing you were doing.
Right.
This definitely couldn't have been. So I think her also seeing me have something on the side made her happy too, because she was a nurse. And it was like, okay, at least you have something else to do besides all these shifts at the hospital.
And so with family, then it sounds like you pretty much, everybody accepted it and they supported you. What about when it got hard? How did you navigate that? Like, did they say, was it more of a like support, like you could do it, or was it like, just don't worry about it, go back to work, it's gonna be fine? What was your level of support?
So recently, and I talked to my uncle yesterday about it, just the up and downs of business. So I think they've been really supportive with that. You know, even when I talk about quitting, my mom's like, no, you've invested too much. You can't turn back now. I'm like, I kind of want them to give me a reason to sometimes, but they don't. So I guess that's good. But, you know, I think I feel that if I was to pack it up, then I guess at this point I wouldn't really care if someone was like, you know, disappointed.
Right.
But you know, I think that they know that I would have known that I've given it, you know, all I could in a try. But I feel like they try to be supportive and remind me that the up and downs of businesses, especially now, is something that everybody is going through with this economy, and something to be expected. So I'm glad I get to at least lean on them for that aspect of it.
Yeah. It's so funny though, because when we start, we are so hopeful. Reality sets in, then we're like not as hopeful, but we've invested so much that we don't want to turn around. And then things start getting better. And I feel like the difficulty for us is because I'm going to say, I've talked to a lot of nurses and they've already set this standard of who they are based on what they have. And the idea of not having that or having that image or whatever is a deterrent for a lot of nurses. And that's the thing. That's the hard part, especially if you came from nothing. You know what I'm saying? It's really a challenge to navigate when you know, were able to have a lot or appear that you have a lot. I mean, you know, take out car loans. It's loans, right? But you're paying it off. You got good credit. You bought a house, you whatever. But it's really hard to navigate, like really setting your priority for business and then like not being able to like currently, and while you're in the growth stage, live the life that you had already started. Live. It's like, wait, are you going backwards? Right. And that's how you feel. And I feel like a lot of nurses, especially when I talk to them, it's like they are not willing to make a sacrifice at all. And I want to ask you that. Would you be willing to, like, if you had a magic wand, no, not a magic wand, crystal ball.
Okay.
And you could see the future though. If you knew in the next, like, you've been in this for 5 years, 5 years. So you knew in the next year, like we always say, I can't quit today because tomorrow might be the day I win, right? So if you knew in the next 12 months you was going to hit, would you sacrifice, like, what would you be willing to sacrifice, I should say?
A lot, because I feel like I've already been made to sacrifice a lot. Well, there's two parts. So one is I feel like I already learned that lesson and started to sacrifice, like even back when I went back to NP school, because I couldn't work all of those shifts. And I felt that I'd rather cut back on my expenses and live as meek as I could to not have to work. Like, that's how burnout I was. So if I had to just make my mortgage payment and a little bit of fun, I was okay with that as long as I didn't have to work 4 or 5 shifts a week. So that was that part. And then now with business, with the ups and downs and things that you sometimes go through, I feel like that sits you down. So you learn to, like, okay, let me keep things as moderate, reasonable as far as expenses in your business and your personal life as I can while I'm building, because I feel like there are a lot of times where, and I always say, I have to, like, step back to move forward, or to sit down for a little bit to be able to move forward. So I feel like I have gotten those lessons, but as you said, there are a lot of nurses who, live for all the fancy. I don't feel like I was ever really like that though. Like the flashy and things like that, because I knew that was a lot of work. And again, my mom had to work all those shifts. Now, she wasn't flashy like that, but we did do vacations and things like that, and it was more of a hustle, more of a, I definitely have been passed down that, like, when you want more, you work more, type of feel. So I always kept things moderately low, and then when I wanted more, I would work more. But
pick
then,
up extra shifts.
But then there came
Typical
a time
nurse.
with family where I can't just go back in, or I could, but again, my business suffers, family suffers. So, did that answer your question? How about you? What would you
that
sacrifice?
answered my question. So yes, what would you be? So for me, I have already sacrificed a lot.
Right. Like,
your girl did, like,
for
real. And like, even what we are doing, like, as business partners in this venture, what I do alone, like, I sacrifice so much. So I have to try to find the balance between, like, so I know life is short. And I don't want to be so stuck on, like, focusing on the future that I miss the present. So it's really trying to find that balance, is where I struggle. I would give it all up. Like, all I care about is my kids, my family, like, as far as, like, making sure they have a roof over their head, make sure they have food. Like, I wouldn't sacrifice that. Right. But, like, as far as if I could buy a $5,000 bag, or if I have the latest car, I've already sacrificed it. Right. So I'm definitely willing to do that. And that it's funny because sometimes I'll see people with, like, especially nurses, I'll be like, oh, that was 3 shifts that I know that car costs. So I just look at things differently. But at the same time, it's just all about finding that middle ground of what you would be willing to sacrifice, I think. And then, which is going to bring us to our next part, when you add on your partner.
Yes.
And I talk to so many nurses that really are struggling because they don't have the support from their partners. And I think it puts us in a really interesting position because, first of all, we're the woman in the relationship. So a lot of times our partners already, we are emotional, we are a lot of times impulsive. And then if they give us the rope, if you will, then we make a mistake. It's like, oh, see, you didn't know what you were doing. Or if we take an L, it's like, oh, see, you didn't know what you were doing. But the truth of the matter is, the L is embedded in the journey. Yeah. You are definitely going to take an L, hands down. So when your partner feels like they're supporting you and they determine your level of success based on if you take an L or not, that's a problem because you're definitely going to take an L. So how do you navigate that part? I know we've talked about it before on previous episodes, just like, being married, but I feel like that is a real challenge for us. Especially, it's so hard because the ones who are really passionate about what they want to do and really have a calling over their lives, it's really difficult for your partner to not support you the way you need to be supported. And then you to just say, okay, never mind. Like, okay, I lost money. This didn't work. Okay, you're right. Maybe I don't know what I'm doing. Like that.
Yeah.
And that'd be hard for me to even hear. Like when I'm talking to nurses and I'm like, when it comes to marriage, hey, that's your husband. I'm not going to, but I really be thinking like, because I always position myself for like when I'm 80-year-old Kiana. And like, how do I want to look back over my life?
Yeah.
And what I'm not willing to do, and I wouldn't even ask my husband to do it for me, is sacrifice that. Sacrifice what I am brought here to do or what my calling is for him, right? Like I am going to stay in my lane as a wife, but it's like, it's a hard. So tell me what's your thoughts on that? Because it's real difficult when you start talking about marriage and.
Yeah, and I was gonna say that has to be difficult because I feel like my husband is supportive. I take L's and he knows about them. Most of them, some of them,
right?
But he never. Oh, he doesn't complain about them. More so, I guess when when it comes over starting to spill into the home life, he'll comment on it, but. Yeah. I feel again, even with him, when there's times where I'm like, maybe I should just close it down, and he's like, no, you don't have to close it down. I'm like, dang, like not like that, but I'm like, sometimes I want you to be like, well, or I kind of gauge it, if he's like, well, look at what those options would be, then I'd be like, are you supporting me as much as I think you do? But I feel like. I don't know, because I don't have that type of situation, but I can think that it must be hard, especially when you're new in business and you do take an L and you're not to the point where you realize that those L's are a part of the journey and they're lessons. And you're already really hard on yourself. So I couldn't imagine how much more difficult it would be to have a spouse who isn't supportive of you.
And then if you don't listen, then that's a whole nother problem in your marriage, right? And the truth of the matter is, if you take a L, we take a L. So that's the thing too. It's not like it's just an isolated L. You guys are, married, you and your partner, and everybody is affected. So that's difficult.
Because there's times even when, talking about an L, when I have to ask my husband to take over, that's when I say when it spills over to family, like, hey, I need you to take over, bills and things for this month because, maybe the spa didn't do that great that month. So those are the type of things where you need your spouse to be able to lean on, like, hey, I need extra help, around the house and things like that. So how do you navigate that? I don't know. I guess I would hope, by talking to your spouse and letting them know how important this is to you, especially like you said, when it's your passion and something you're so passionate about, and you just have that feeling that this is where you're supposed to be, the track you're supposed to be on. I would only hope that, your spouse will be supportive, but the unfortunate truth is that most are not.
Yeah. And the truth is there's just so much unpredictable. Now, it's funny because when I talk to nurses who are married to their partner and they are entrepreneurs, it's a whole different, like usually their partners, they already know it. Right. So it's a difference. But what I find for the most part is it's like opposites attract. So usually the entrepreneur is with someone who is like just plan on working and, retiring and, having their retirement. And then you come like taking all these risky moves and affecting the stash. And they start to get resentful. It's really a journey. I would say my husband was in between, especially when I started 7 years ago. And what I found is that when I involved him in every aspect, not just the highs, but also the lows. Over this time, he's kind of developed a trust in my judgment. And then also when he knows how to support me when I'm at my lows and not just, well, like you don't want to quit your job or something like that. You know, it's just like,
we have to be
you gonna get through it. You always figure it out. You gonna such and such. And I remember in the beginning, I used to get upset at that too. Like, don't just say I'm gonna figure it out. Like, how you know?
Right.
But now, yeah, exactly. But now he's more like, when he says it, I appreciate it because it's true. God always works it through for me. I just, you know, I'm going through a moment, whatever, and I get through it. So I think transparency is important for most things, but then you guys figure out what that looks like. Because like when it comes to mentorship and coaching, we don't really talk about that. Because I look the money that probably people would spend on like bags and shoes and car notes and stuff. I spend it on my personal development. So
same. This morning I'm like, I have no clothes. This is ridiculous.
Yes, exactly. Like I don't, like if I have an event, of course I'll get some stuff, but that it's such a trip that I don't care about. Like I care more about investing in me because I know it appreciates over time. Than just that immediate gratification for someone saying, oh, that's a cute this, or you got that, or whatever. I just look at it differently. And he does too, because he's like, so you guys, when I first started this journey, I had a brand new Maserati. I was the person who buy all the bags, and baby, all of that went. In Spanish, they say, se fue. It was gone, okay? And my lease was up, and I looked at how much I invested in, not even invested, I spent on that Maserati just from the upkeep, the gas, the this. And I was like, dang, I could have put that in the stock market. I could have did this. So automatically I was starting to just look at things differently. And I always talk about my 2007 Lexus. That's the car I had when I graduated nursing school. I bought brand new, and that sucker still drives. So, and I still had it. So I was like, do I want to get another car? Like, why do I want to do that? So, but I have invested in my personal development though. And I invest a lot of money in my personal development. I really feel good about that shift that I made. But my husband now, he's talking to me like, okay, you need to get a car. Like, what are you doing here? But my spa is 3 minutes from my house. Like my daughter's school is around the car. Like I told him, I was like, I can walk. Like I don't, when I am where I need to be, where I feel like I don't need to, like I can maybe just have one program that I'm investing in per year, or you know, I don't have to invest so much because I don't have that huge learning curve, which is what I have right now. Like, so investing in sales and marketing and AI is what I need to do right now. So I feel like I will get to that point where, you know, I will be bringing in what I feel is a comfortable amount that can, you know, really sustain me. I will not be spending things that are going to depreciate at this point in my life. It's just not going to happen.
Same. And that's, I think, the goal is definitely to grind it out now, because it's like getting another degree.
Yeah, it really business, is. Yeah,
like
I agree.
So that's where our tuition is going at now. But it's the thing
Good
of
point. We paying for it. There's no student loan. There's no student loans.
Right. So, you know, just knowing that, and knowing that there will be a time when we can, like you said, it's not like we're saying don't have nice things or these things, but it's a point of building to the spot that's comfortable to be able to make wise choices with your money, and not, you know, because I remember you complaining about your Maserati, and then here I go getting a car, because I feel I had to have this big mom car, and we took it for service the other day, and we went in back in my Acura, which is like your Lexus. And I was like, this feels real nice. We can do this. My girls are like, where's our car? We like this one, but we want the other one. I'm like, well, we might be back up to this one, because like you said, the money I'm spending for that, now I see a whole bunch of other things that I can buy. So you just, you know, learn and get over yourself with these things. But definitely, as far as like the partnership, you know, I like what you said about transparency and having them come along with the journey, because then it feels like you guys are both in this together. Yeah. And, you know, your partner can help you navigate those times when it does get difficult, and when you need their support, and not their lashing or I told you so's and things like that. It makes it a little bit easier when you have the support and know that, you know, we always talk about support of like friends and community, but you definitely need that support at home. As well. Agreed. While you're going through this crazy entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah. And so I think the biggest takeaway, you guys, from this episode is, as you can see, it's very complex, but it is also a level of simplicity, in my opinion. And that simplicity is simply, if you're called to and led to do something, you should do it.
Yeah.
You have to navigate the intricacies, right? The nuances of like family life. You're a mom, you're a wife. Most of you also still are employed and have jobs. So yes, you have to navigate that. But honestly, I don't feel like that's an excuse not to start. Like, it is hard. Like, but don't be that person at 80 who looks back over their life and didn't live. That's the thing. Like, I was telling, I don't remember who this was, but I was telling someone, I was like, this may be me like gaslighting my own self. So I could say, but I said, I feel alive as I remember working and just day to day. Like, I was in administration. So it's like the same thing every day. Now you never know what to come your way.
You really don't.
And you, as you navigate these like challenges, you become a better, stronger, faster version of you.
Yeah.
So you really feel alive. And I don't know how to explain that. I know that may sound crazy, but it's true, because other than that, you're just existing. And like, who wants to do that? Right. We don't want to just exist.
Doing the same thing over and over.
Over and over again. So just remember that as far as partnership, I feel like especially the women, and if your partner is a male, it becomes a lot more challenging because of the dynamic in the relationship. But and every man is different. But if I don't think that you should sacrifice your dreams for your partner. I just don't think you should do it. No. I think you should find a way to come and meet somewhere in the middle. But to just say I'm giving up on my dreams because he doesn't want me to or she doesn't want me to, I'm sorry. No, I'm just going to go on and say it. I don't like dealing with marriage stuff, but I'm going to say I don't agree with that at all. No. There has to be some kind of middle ground that you can have. I mean, quitting my job was not an option when I first started entrepreneurship. That's our middle ground. Like, I couldn't quit. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. But I'm still going to pursue my dreams.
I'll have your half for the,
yes.
the rent.
Exactly.
And then whatever else I want to do, then I should.
Yes, I'm still going to. And I want you to pursue yours too. Yeah. Like, I wouldn't want to stop you from doing what you want to do. So that's our suggestion, you guys. It's not about removing any hats. Is just being able to carefully navigate them. And I know we said on the previous podcast before, you guys, there's really no balance in this journey at all. There is 1 minute you're doing something really good, the other areas are struggling, and vice versa.
Yeah. Constantly.
It's constant. So give yourself some grace. But again, you can never fail if you don't quit. I don't consider L's failures at all. L's are embedded in your journey. But if you commit to yourself that you are not going to quit, and you start looking at things from the perspective of what if it does work and not what if it doesn't work, you will shift your mindset by focusing on being optimistic and positive about your journey.
Absolutely.
All right, you guys.
Well said.
Thank you. Until next time, you guys, we are on YouTube. Yes. We are also on all of the podcast stations,
platforms.
Stations. So you can catch us. You can catch us on YouTube, Spotify. Again, you guys, comment if you like these type of videos. Let us know in the comments. Make sure you download. If you're watching us on YouTube, subscribe, share. Also, turn those notifications on. Don't gatekeep. All right, you guys. Until next time. Bye.